Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, World Media here, and there is a big Epstein bombshell coming out. Of course, Epstein, who was a blackmail agent for intelligence agencies, including the CIA and Mossad, is being tied up again in a major expose by Virginia Giuffre, who, of course, died mysteriously some months ago after saying that she was in a car crash. So there was like no records of the crash, and after they claimed she got over the injuries that she had in this crash, allegedly killed herself, even though she said she would never kill herself, while her autobiography or memoirs have come out. And according to the New York Post, Virginia Giuffre was beaten, raped by well known prime minister in attack that broke Epstein's spell, her memoir reveals. She talked about a lot of things in these memoirs. Maxwell Epstein pleaded for Virginia Giuffre to have their baby, prompting teen to hatch escape plan, according to her memoir. There's stuff that's happening regarding Prince Andrew, which includes rape, which has led to him losing his titles, and so much more, including more information on the blackmail that we've seen at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein. Before we get into this, my friends, I urge you guys to check those links below and help support us if you can, as well as supporting yourself by going and checking out our link for Wave Watch 2.0, where you can use code WAM, WAM, and get $100 off on this. This is 1,100 frequencies plus to help improve sleep, balance emotions, enhance mental clarity, and boost your energy. It's great for immune function and much more. Link is in the description. Fight back against those bad frequencies you're facing on a daily basis. It's a wearable sound frequency therapy device. Highly recommend people go and check that out. Again, that's code WAM, WAM, and you'll get $100 off on your order. Make sure to hit like, subscribe, share on social media, hit the notification bell over on Rumble and BitChute at World Alternative Media. We appreciate your support, my friends. Now let's get into this. So, Virginia Giuffre beaten, raped by well-known prime minister in attack that broke Epstein's spell, her memoir reveals. This is absolutely crazy. So, a lot of people are guessing at who that prime minister is. Many are saying that it was indeed a certain Israeli prime minister from some time ago. And I'm not talking about Epstein, or I'm not talking about Netanyahu, but it says here prominent Jeffrey Epstein victim Virginia Roberts Giuffre was brutally bloodied, beaten, and raped by well-known prime minister in a series of savage encounters that finally helped the teenager break free from the sex trafficker's spell. In her posthumous memoir, Nobody's Girl, a memoir of surviving abuse and fighting for justice, Giuffre recalled begging Epstein to step in after the unnamed politician forced her to beg for her life. But the pedophile coldly told her it was simply part of her job. And I quote, after the attack, I couldn't stay a fool, having been treated so brutally and then seeing Epstein's callous reaction to how terrorized I felt. I had to accept that Epstein meted out praise merely as a manipulation to keep me subservient, Giuffre wrote, according to an excerpt shared with the Post. And it says Epstein cared only about Epstein. Giuffre simply referred to the deranged man as a prime minister, saying she was afraid the brute would seek to hurt her if she printed his name. In the past, however, she pointed to Israel's prime minister Ehud Barak in court filings as one of many elites who raped her, a claim he has repeatedly denied. In her memoir, Giuffre said she first met the prime minister on Epstein's private island in the U.S. Virgin Islands sometime in 2002 when she was just 18. She was ordered to escort him to a cabana, but the man made it clear as soon as they were alone that he wanted violence. And I quote, he repeatedly choked me until I lost consciousness and took pleasure in seeing me in fear for my life. Horrifically, the prime minister laughed when he hurt me and got more aroused when I begged him to stop. I emerged from the cabana bleeding from my mouth, vagina, and anus. For days, it hurt to breathe and to swallow, Giuffre wrote. It's absolutely horrific. The politician raped me more savagely than anyone had before. She immediately rushed to Epstein and begged him not to send her back to the prime minister. And I quote, I got down on my knees and pleaded with him. I don't know if Epstein feared the man or if he owed him a favor, but he wouldn't make any promises, saying coldly of the politician's brutality, you'll get that sometimes, she continued. Yeah, I would say he was probably afraid of the man because he worked for the man. It says sometime later, Epstein sent her back to the politician for a second encounter conducted entirely in a cabin aboard the Lolita Express. Although the experience was far less violent, Giuffre spent the entire hour in fear he would suddenly strike or choke her, she wrote. Giuffre admitted that before the violent experience, she had given Epstein the benefit of the doubt and believed he cared for the girls he sex trafficked. She was not completely naive, she wrote, acknowledging that his predication for childlike girls was a sickness, but that in his twisted way, he meant well. his indifference to her fear and injuries from the prime minister forced the 18-year-old to face the truth. Chillingly, Giuffre then predicted her own death in the passage, saying she would not survive a life of sex trafficking and would either take her own life or die at the hands of one of Epstein's friends. And I quote, I didn't know it then, but my second interaction with the prime minister was the beginning of the end for me, Giuffre said, adding that she stopped recruiting other young girls for Epstein as he had forced her to do in the past. You know, I wonder partially if anything in her book was changed, including possibly the name of this prime minister, after she was allegedly, they claim that she killed herself, though she also said that she wouldn't do that, and if it was ever to be claimed that it was indeed murder, one has to wonder, since the book is posthumous, that possibly they manipulated the book somewhat before she died. It says, to the final breaking point that summer came when Epstein and his madam Ghislaine Maxwell pleaded with Giuffre to carry their child, a proposal that came with mansions, wealth, and around-the-clock nannies, but would require her to sign away any legal rights. The teen immediately worried they were planning to use the baby as a future trafficking victim and began planning her escape. She left the couple's grasp not long after, but her experiences haunted her for the rest of her life, particularly the greedy, cruel look on the prime minister's face as he watched me beg for my life. Barak has repeatedly denied Giuffre's abuse claims or knowledge that Epstein was running a perverted sex ring, as if Barak was a personal friend of Epstein's and used several $1 million of Epstein's money to finance a security company. How strange. Records show he had visited Epstein on his private island and had boarded his private plane. The chilling tale was included in Giuffre's memoir, set to be released next week, when she penned in the years before her suicide in April. She was 41. So this is very, very strange. And again, still not shocking. This and the attempt to make her provide a child for Epstein and Maxwell is absolutely insane. But we'll get into the blackmail aspect of this in a moment. Prince Andrew believed having sex with me was his birthright, Virginia Giuffre, on her abuse at the hands of Epstein, Maxwell, and the king's brother. Of course, just recently, Prince Andrew has relinquished his royal titles completely, which, of course, he has been in the hot seat for a very long time over this Epstein scandal, especially since that horrific interview that he did. But of course, this has led to his fall from grace, and he's relinquished all royal titles within the last week. So that is a major development. Of course, Giuffre thought she might die a sex slave at hands of Epstein and his circle, memoir reveals. Lots of stuff coming out of this book. Now, this is interesting. So this is recent, from October 2nd. Howard Lutnik believes Jeffrey Epstein may have used blackmail to get a lighter sentence. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever, Lutnik told the New York Post. He should know. Because, of course, Lutnik, who stands behind Trump, every time Trump says, we're not putting out any more Epstein information. All my supporters that care about this are weaklings. Yeah, it makes you a weakling if you want justice for the thousands of children that were raped. But Trump calls people weaklings if they want information on Epstein. As Lutnik stands behind him, it always seems that whenever he does a speech about Epstein, Lutnik is standing next to him. Now, who is Lutnik? Who is Howard Lutnik? Well, Howard Lutnik, who campaigned for Hillary Clinton in 2016 at his mansion townhouse, was next door neighbors with Jeffrey Epstein. And of course, Epstein was standing there next door to him while he was having these Hillary Clinton fundraisers in 2016 in his house. Now, Lutnik, who, of course, has huge connections with the Israeli government as well, Lutnik, also a technocrat, is one of Trump's right-hand men now, and part of his administration was also the head of his transition team, which, of course, makes perfect sense. Lutnik was directly connected to Epstein. And also, I want to also mention, from the blackmail perspective, Alexander Acosta, who was Trump's labor secretary, had said in the transition team meetings in 2016 that he was told to give Epstein a plea deal because he worked for an intelligence agency and was a government agent. Now, Epstein bragged about being Mossad to his ex-girlfriend, which has been publicized multiple times. It's obvious that Epstein worked for the Israeli government and Israeli intelligence, as well as through some degrees of CIA and MI6, to blackmail politicians to get them on video having sex with both adults and children in order to use it against them, utilize this information in order to get everyone to follow a narrative. And he's not alone. He's not the only one. I'll mention or get into that further in a moment. But Epstein is a character that was created by Mossad. Epstein was never really seen on Wall Street as this hedge fund manager billionaire. And there's no evidence that he was ever there other than they say so. Addo on X writes, Israeli intelligence officer Ari Ben Manash confirms Netanyahu is blackmailing Trump. He says American government is trapped by the Israelis. Jeffrey Epstein was one of their tools to trap them. So exactly what I'm talking about here with Howard Lutnik. And then you have this information about the former Prime Minister Ehud Barak and how it seemed like Epstein feared him. Yes, he worked for him. It was like when they were putting cameras in Epstein's New Mexico ranch all over the place in every room. When the video guy came to put up or to install all this stuff, it was reported at the time that he said Epstein didn't seem to have any idea where the cameras are supposed to go. He just told me to follow the blueprint that was given. There's instructions that were written. Yeah, it's Israeli intelligence, my friends. And there's no doubt about it. You know, that New Mexico ranch that had a schoolhouse on it and an underground lair and also had an airstrip in which we saw Bill Clinton and Chelsea Clinton, his daughter, land many times. Every single year they went on vacation at that ranch. So very interesting stuff. I have absolutely no doubt that Epstein was Mossad and was a blackmail agent for them. And this weird, almost sexualization of Howard Lutnik to Trump is really, really out of this world strange, considering this was Epstein's next door neighbor and did these Hillary Clinton fundraisers, was never really a hardcore supporter of Trump until he became part of the administration, I think, planted by Israel. No shock there. We're dealing with puppets abound. He's also very close with J.D. Vance. So when we see this intelligence agent from Israel saying that Netanyahu is blackmailing Trump, there's no doubt about it. He gives him the golden beeper. He has him push in his chair, and then they claim the ceasefire thing. Ceasefire is complete nonsense. Check out my latest video on that. I exposed that quite a lot there. Meanwhile, we have this from Thomas Massey. He says, tonight, Congress will vote to lower the age to prosecute minors as adults from 16 down to 14 in D.C. Let me get this straight. Congress wants to prosecute 14-year-olds as adults, but they don't want to prosecute adults who sexually abuse 14-year-olds. Release the Epstein files, he says. Now, Epstein is not alone, as I mentioned. There's Peter Nygaard, who I believe was another agent who got videos. I think Diddy was, and he got off pretty scot-free with his 4-year sentence. Sometimes they have to throw him under the bus if he's even in jail. And then it's this. They found another Epstein, says Adam on X. He says he tortured American women for decades. His name is Howard Rubin. Now, this is all alleged. He held leadership roles at Town and Village Synagogue and Park Avenue Synagogue, where he led missions to Israel, another Israeli patriot. I've been hearing a lot about this Howard Rubin guy. And a lot of people are talking about it, even NBC. I believe that there are probably hundreds and hundreds of Mossad blackmail agents, and they are trafficking children and using video that they get from this to blackmail politicians and famous people and those with power and money to continue to follow the narrative as we see them crack down with said narrative to force people into the net zero agenda, big pharma agenda, war, pro-Israel propaganda, where the Israeli government is giving $7,000 to fake independent medias to promote them. And we have at the same time the push for, CBDCs and digital IDs and of course emergency orders, and the push for civil war and divide and conquer, all of the above. Seems pretty obvious this is where we're going. A guy named aptly named Jeff Epstein on X says, why do ICE agents use full body wraps on Mexican pregnant mothers but let Israeli pedophiles fly first class to Tel Aviv? Very good question. Why is that? And where's our humanity? We have pedophiles in Las Vegas that work for Israeli intelligence getting caught and then sent over to Israel, where they're extradition free and can live out the rest of their life without any justice being had. This is happening regularly. And why can we not ask this question? Why are we called anti-Semitic? Why are we called bigoted for asking a question about horrible people taking advantage of children? Why does Trump say that we should not be looking any further into the Epstein files? Why does Kash Patel say that Epstein might be innocent? What is going on here? Remember, he ran on releasing the Epstein files. And yes, he called out Bill Clinton for being a rapist and working with and doing all this stuff with Epstein back in 2016. And of course, brought people, including a friend of mine, Juanita Broderick, to the forefront to expose Bill Clinton's crimes. But this isn't whataboutisms. People always use that. When I called out Bill Clinton, they said, what about Trump? When I call out Trump, they say, what about Clinton? It's whataboutisms are not a sign of morality, because if you only care about the political side based on rape and potential pedophilia, then you don't really care about those children. You don't really care about those victims at all. And now a lot of allegations could be made that are totally untrue, for sure. But what I find strange is that we have Israeli intelligence officers saying that Trump is being blackmailed by Netanyahu. We have all these connections with Howard Lutnik and the Israeli government. And of course, we have all these examples that Virginia Giuffre put forward, and thousands of other women, by the way, and children. And by the way, Bohemian Grove continues. Where's that crackdown on pedophiles? We also have the fact that, Pam Bondi said, I have the Epstein files on my desk, then says, she releases them to all these pro-Israel propagandists, fake alternative media personalities, and it's totally 100% redacted. Like every line is blacked out. Then she says they lost the Epstein files. Then they say there never were any Epstein files. First, they say that they lost the footage, the camera footage in Epstein's jail outside his cell. Then they say that it was deleted. Then they say, oh, actually, we found it, release it with a bunch of minutes missing. And again, very mysterious clips in the footage. It's like they're just making things up as they go along to keep people as part of the paradigm, and people are still sitting on their hands, and they keep distracting from the Epstein story. The Epstein story was like one of the number one things that was pushing back against Trump, because it's real stuff. And obviously the leftist media is going to push this as part of the paradigm, and use it to attack Trump and utilize it in an incorrect manner without the context involved to attack Trump. And yeah, it's nonsense. But just because the leftist media is talking about it, just like the right-wing media talks about a lot of things that were true sometimes, they mix things in so that people trust them, because they need some form of trust, even though I have to say most people are leaving mainstream media to now, watch alternative independent medias, but most of them are mainstream alternative medias, and they're propped up in the algorithm as controlled opposition and replacement for mainstream medias that are themselves getting huge amounts of money from donors in Israel. And Charlie Kirk was as well, though he later turned it down and lost a huge amount of money, and then mysteriously died a couple of days after saying that he has left the Israeli cause, which I had argued with him on many times before. And we've seen these attempts to fly celebrities out and others to Israel on these missions, and we hear about it, and they are told there's cameras everywhere. These celebrities have mentioned they just try to give you, women and young women to have sex with you and to do anything with you, and they just throw prostitutes and alcohol and drugs at you. And that's what every celebrity and politician I've heard from or talked to have said to me or have said to other interviewers. It's pretty obvious they're getting blackmail. They'll use that against you. It's not just, oh, booze and schmooze and, oh, look how great things are. I gave you all these women and you must like us. It's more than just that. They are filming you doing these things and then utilizing it as blackmail against you. It, to me, is truly sick. And of course, Virginia Giuffre is one of many Epstein victims that suddenly so-called killed himself. Some got hit by cars. Some had strange health incidents. It's quite obvious to me what's going on here. But anyway, this blackmail operation continues. There's still many of them out there that continue to do this. That's why Israel has such a stranglehold. And a lot of people in mainstream that are pushing back against Israel are generally controlled opposition that will give you what they call a limited hangout. It's a CIA term for telling part of the truth, but not the entirety of the truth, in order to distract people from the entirety of the truth, misdirect people, you see, and of course, get them to the wrong conclusions. And that is very common in what we've been seeing. Of course, that is part of the complicated nature of these psyops, and it needs to be understood. So again, Epstein's a Mossad agent. He might still be alive. He didn't kill himself, that's for sure, though Kash Patel seems to think he did now. And we will continue to report on these insane stories as they come out, because, again, people are getting totally distracted from it by the most latest news, the current thing that we're supposed to be distracted by this week. So we'll be continuing to go into this and more into the future. As always, my friends, check those links below. Check out Wave Watch 2.0. Get one of these. This is super awesome. 1,100 plus frequencies. The link is in the description. You'll get $100 off if you use code WAM, W-A-M. Of course, we have heavensharvest.com for long-term storable foods that are non-GMO. There's organic kits, heirloom seeds, water filtration and storage, and books on how to get started. Use code WAM, W-A-M, and you'll get 5% off, as well as free shipping on these items. Highly recommend people get on this today and stock up so you don't succumb to the emergency orders and digital ID system later on down the line. And speaking of that, I urge people to go and check out firstnationalbullion.com/schedule-consult/ has to be that exact link to avoid the CBDC system and get yourself prepared, ensure your wealth. Again, go and check out this link. And of course, there you can buy physical gold, silver, platinum, or palladium. Hold it in your hands, put it in a vault, put it in an IRA outside of the traditional IRA system. Schedule an appointment for a free consultation with Mark Gonzalez, a good friend of ours here at WHAM, who we've done many videos with, including our recent video on cashless bank runs. And of course, you'll also get a complimentary investors package. He's very awake. He's aware of what's going on with this, and he's been doing this for a long time. Let him know in the comments when you sign up over at that link that you found him at World Alternative Media, or WAM, W-A-M. Of course, we have a lot of options below. You could go and check out vni.life/WAM, W-A-M, and get super supplements today. Again, amazing options here. And if you use code WAM15, WAM15, you'll get 15% off, especially on things like Protovite, which you can find with 100 plus vitamins, minerals, and phytonutrients. Look at the before and after on this. This is before. This is all the loss of the negative charge in the red blood cells, the circulation issues. White blood cells are small. Look at 5 minutes after you take it. Restored negative charge, red blood cells freely flowing. White blood cells are 4 times their size. Absolutely amazing. This usually takes a month to do, and with Protovite, it takes 5 minutes. Absolutely amazing. So I urge you to go and check that link for vni.life/WAM, W-A-M, in the description below, and help support us if you can. We have gogetfunding.com, which we could really use some help on, my friends. Thank you so much to those who've helped in the past. You guys are lifesavers. We need your help. We are bankrupt, and you guys are the only thing that will keep us up and running. We have a Patreon and Subscribestar. If you pledge $4.99 or more on Patreon or Subscribestar, or on X at World Alt Media, you will get exclusive content, including videos that we can send directly to you answering any of your personal questions. We also have a PayPal address, ancientwonderstelevision@gmail.com. We have a Bitcoin address here that you could scan on the screen or check out in the description of the video in text form as well. And of course, we have a Cointree link with a bunch of different cryptocurrencies that you could donate in if you please, including privacy coins. So go and check that out in the description. Help support us also by checking out our Teespring link, where you can purchase merchandise that you could get good messages out on the street while helping support us at the same time. Again, find us on Telegram, Band.video, BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble, and Brighteon at World Alternative Media. We're on Hive, Steemit, and Vigilante.tv at Josh Sigurdson. And on the Bad Guys, TikTok and Instagram, World Alternative Media, Twitter and Getter at World Alt Media, and all the major podcast platforms except for Spotify, where, of course, we're banned. Hit that like button, share on social media, hit the notification bell, and hit subscribe if you have not yet already. And as always, my friends, live freely, live by example, don't fall for those psyops. This is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.